Good morning, everyone, and a very warm welcome for the Nirmaan Demo Day. We are thrilled to have all of you here and celebrate the innovation, entrepreneurship, and the brilliant minds driving change. Nirmaan IIT Madras, the pre-incubator initiative, has been a platform where creative ideas transform into scalable solution. Today, we witness the culmination of months of hard work and passion and vision. I would like to invite Professor V. Kamakoti, Dr. Sundarajan, Professor Prabhu Rajagopal, Professor Satyanarayan, those, and the director of NASCOM, Mr. Adar. Yeah. So, to welcome our guest, I would like to call Professor Prabhu to give a bouquet to Dr. V. Kamakoti. It's my honor to introduce and welcome our esteemed dignitaries for today. Firstly, I would like to extend a warm welcome to our chief guest, Professor V. Kamakoti, the director of IIT Madras. Professor's leadership and vision has been instrumental into fostering innovation and research at IIT Madras. And we are truly honored to have him with us today. It's my privilege to invite Professor to speak his wise words with us today.
So friends, dearest students, and all the invitees, a very, very hearty welcome to IIT Madras campus. Today is a dream come true for many, including me, that we have embarked on very explorative journeys. Last couple of years, or last 3 years to be precise, we were on the journey of filing a patent a day. This year we have embarked on a journey of 100 startups this year from IIT Madras table. That means we are looking at every third day a startup must come. And we have a lot of foundational support for making this seemingly impossible thing possible. So we have the entrepreneurship cell, we have C5, this building, the ground floor, we have Nirmaan on top of us, then the Gopalakrishnan Deshpande Center, and several incubators at our IIT Madras Research Park. This entrepreneurship stack, something unique in our country, ensures that any student who has an idea which can lead to a minimum viable product will never go unaddressed. We will make our earnest attempt to see that this translates into a product, into a startup, that is of great use to our society. Friends, as you will witness several startup demos today, you will find that every startup has at their base level addressing one important societal issue. I strongly urge every one of you to please look at that social issue our startups are trying to solve. So, all that is well, that starts well, and we all start with every one of these startups have started with a noble goal that we will solve a society, the problem that will make human life better. I think that noble goal is going to be the fundamental reason for why these startups are going to be extremely successful. I have no doubt about it. We are ably supported by many, including I am very happy that Srikant has been spending quite a bit of time here. Please, Srikant, can you just give a round of applause? We are very proud that here he's almost adopted this place, and not almost, actually adopted this place. And also thanks to all the other partners, other industry, other VCs, NASCOM, who have come here and who are trying to encourage our young students. Friends, what we need, again, through this address, I am making a very big appeal to the large industries who are running major projects in our country, looking at large communication networks, looking at sustainable cities, doing large construction projects, doing large process management. My earnest request is to come and evaluate these startups. And if you find them useful, give the first purchase order. Startup, for an artist, the first stage is important. For a teacher, the first class is important. For a startup, the first purchase order is important. They don't need VC funding. They need the first purchase order. I think this is what is my earnest appeal to the Tatas, Mahindras, Infosys, Wipro, all these people. Please look at, have Atma Vishwas, confidence in our startups. Give them one 10 lakh purchase order, at least 10 lakh purchase order. Let them, allow them to put their logo as one of their clients. It will boost them. It is much, much more than a Series 1, Series 2 funding. So friends, this is my request, and I request NASCOM and all the people here to work in that direction. Whatever you do other than that, in my at least 7 to 8 years of dealing, looking at making these startups with, being part of the research park, our incubation cell, anything else is not going to create this impact. That the first purchase order, let us try and get it to the startup. I think this is what I make as a request here. Friends, today, let me explain the role of Nirmaan. The entrepreneurship cell actually captures students, actually kidnaps students who have ideas and who would like to patent it. Now, at the end of this ESL intervention, they come out with an idea. This C5, the Center for Innovation, helps them to convert this idea into a viable design. The Nirmaan, the demo day that you are seeing, helps this design to become a minimum viable product. So we have two stages here. The Pratham stage, which basically gets these startups, give them some money, some encouragement to see that they reach the next level of trying to come as close as possible to a prototype. And then there is Akshar, which program which actually gives little more money and try to convert this prototype into a minimum viable product. So many companies have benefited by this. I would like to, they are working on electric mobility, which is very, very important today, medical diagnostics, and space technology, fintech, agri-tech, and many things that you will witness here. Almost all important social technology needs for the country, we have at least one startup representing it today. And we have some of the Nirmaan alumni, I must mention, are Galaxy, which recently got the Series A with Infosys participation funding. Then TAN 90 modulus housing, which actually created 3,000 beds within 1 month during Corona, saving thousands of lives. Plenome, Solinas, these are all the companies which have looked at several societal problems and they have addressed them in great detail. Now, we have certain exciting stalls. All the stalls are exciting. But we have something on space manufacturing, sports technology. IIT Madras has introduced sports quota. We believe that, why did we introduce sports quota? Because we believe that sports technology is coming up in a big way. So, we have some representative sports technology companies today. And I believe that this is going to be a very, very big market. If you look at, the number of cameras in a cricket field is actually more than the number of audience in many matches. Right? So today we can see so many sensors and cameras and stuff like that. The electronics inside cricket match today is phenomenal. I think so technology is going to grow and sports tech is going to become extremely important. It's not just about live relay and capturing moments in a match, but it's about athlete management, athlete health development. Tomorrow Olympic medal winner can basically aim for that medal better if there is a technology intervention and guidance towards development of their specific field. Then we do have a lot of things like on water technology, is very, very important today. And some Gen AI, of course, we have a lot of AI, exciting AI related startups. So friends, have a look at all these things and please encourage our dear students. We don't just have from IIT, we also run the Carbon Zero Challenge, which is extremely important. By the next decade, India must start, as a country, we must start answering the sustainable development goal questions or challenges in front of us. I think these startups will essentially play a great role that day. And if these startups do not exist, we will be dependent on technologies from outside. And that is not going to be an encouraging scenario in very critical area like sustainability. So we need to have our own indigenous technology, custom made for our own country needs, our own country environment, etc. So these startups that are going to work on this SDG related goals, specifically those from the Carbon Zero Challenge, are going to be the determining factor for India's comprehensive answer to the sustainable development goals. I strongly want all the VCs and NASSCOM and all the agencies here to have a look at these companies and encourage them, talk about them to in a larger audience. You will have several opportunities. Please give them opportunity to come and showcase, and please, please, please ensure the first purchase order for them. This is the reason why today we are conducting this Nirmaan Demo Day. I place on great record to all my kids here who have made it possible. So a good round of applause for all the coordinators here. And this is a dream day for me, and I hope I get the same dream many days to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor, for your inspiring word. And I hope Nirmaan Demo Day becomes a place where one of the deal is cracked. So we are also fortunate to have Professor Satyanarayan Gumandi, the Dean of Students of IIT Madras. He is a strong supporter of student initiative, and his support and guidance empowers us at Nirmaan to keep working and increasing the startup culture at IIT Madras. I would like to have him say a few words.
So good morning to one and all present here. So it's my pleasure to be part of this demo day for Nirmaan here. So as Director pointed out, the aim of Nirmaan is to bring life to the ideas. Okay, so if you look at our human life, so we have childhood stage and an adult stage. So the stage in between is very crucial. It's called adolescent age. Okay, so where we undergo a lot of changes and we need a lot of help to come over adolescent stage, so that we become a successful adult in our life. So in a startup career, so you have a proof of concept, you have some ideas too, and you want to make it a product and bring it to startup. And there is a stage called adolescent age where the students need a lot of help. Okay? And this is where I'm very proud to say that IIT Madras and alumnus had thought about it in 2015 itself. There should be a supporting hand for students for which we need to convert their idea into product. And that's how the Nirmaan was established in 2015. And now it has been carried out almost for more than 9 years. And we have a team of, currently we have a team of 40 students who's leading the Nirmaan team. And we have more, I think we have received more than 100 crores revenue for Nirmaan so far. So we have received more than 100 crores revenue, and we have more than 20-25 women entrepreneurships taken part in the Nirmaan. And we also have almost 20 to 30 sustainable project startups in our institute. So in addition to this, we have almost like 80 to 90 teams currently present in Nirmaan, out of which I think around 30 teams are exhibiting today. I think this is the first mega event by Nirmaan to exhibit their startups in the country, in similar to C5 where we have Open Day. And I think I encourage the Nirmaan team to have at least this to happen twice a year to exhibit this stalls to outside people, get criticism, and try to get a lot of market capture in the country. So I wish some of these teams can become unicorn very soon, and wish all the team a good success, and congratulations to the entire team for having this open day. Good luck to all. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor, for your continuous support and encouragement. Next, we are privileged to have Dr. Shrikant Sundarajan, General Partner at Venture East, as a guest of honor today. Dr. Sundarajan has been a pioneer in the venture capital space, nurturing startups and helping them scale at new heights. His vast experience and insights are invaluable to our startup ecosystem. I would like to have him say a few words.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. It's a big honor. For me, it's just like being a student again. And my first startup was in 1989 in the Bay Area. That time, no one knew what startups were. So since then, I've done 2 or 3 startups. All of them have been acquired. The last one actually is a public company. And I've been an institutional VC for the last 15 years, including last 7 with Venture East. And I've seen a number of unicorn journeys, quite a few of them from IIT Madras. So what actually kind of gets me totally excited is the vision for tomorrow, which Professor Kamakoti had mentioned very briefly. I've been actually working on it with Nandini and Professor Rajgopal here. And what the whole goal is to create something called the SRI effect, which is the Stanford Research Institute effect, out of IIT Madras, where really good research gets translated into ideas, ideas gets translated into real products, with a very simple mechanism. How do you make sure that there's no friction? How do you make sure there's going to be an impact? Because 40 years has taught me that a lot of simple things can happen very, very easily. And India is ready now. IIT Madras is ready. We have funding. We have a bunch of alums like us coming back, and they will be getting more and more involved with Nirmaan to make sure that these ideas get translated into startups and they get off to a good start. So 100 startups may happen in a year, but even if 10 of them start to march towards Series A, Series B, onwards to unicorn status, that'll be fantastic for us. We have to be self-reliant, because if you look at the global economy right now, there's a whole bunch of geopolitics which actually constrain things. So how do we become totally self-reliant and create startups for India first and then for the developing nations? So this is another very, very important thing that I think several initiatives inside, especially the IIT Global Development Initiative, is taking a very active role in terms of opening up different campuses, working with research institutes across the world. And we want more and more alums to start to come back to campus and become professors of practice or sponsor projects from the industry that they belong to, or NASSCOM. We have Mr. Kataria here and other people. We also have TAI, all these initiatives. We have Kiritsu, we have Rajan here. I don't see him, but he must be, yeah, there he is. So all of this has to come back to make it happen. And it has to happen in a concerted manner. From 2008, we've been seeing a lot of this, which has been sporadic. It's all coming together. It's always important to refactor, because I've been around for 40 years in the startup ecosystem, right? And everything is all tech for me. So even though we've done a lot of e-commerce companies, but most of the companies which we are excited about are tech companies. And a lot of tech ideas happen inside IIT Madras and other IITs too. So we want to encourage that, but we want the alums to come back here, spend time, wear a t-shirt. You don't have to wear a tie, because I don't like being tied, I don't like being jacketed, I don't like being socked. So come, enjoy your 2-3 days here, contribute and go back. And more, we also are going to have a small fund. Can I talk? So Prabhu and I and a bunch of others, we want to put together a small founders fund, which will be part of Nirmaan, part of the innovation landscape, so that companies can actually get some right encouragement. And we'll also get very early stage VCs. You'll see a bunch of them in the afternoon. You can ask them questions. All of this is pretty exciting. And I'm sure in about 2 or 3 years, you will see some fantastic companies come out of here. Anyway, some really good ideas. You should just wander around, take a look at the startups. And you won't be disappointed, I'm telling you. So thank you very much for having me, and hope you enjoy a good, productive one day here. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Sundarajan, for sharing your invaluable perspective. Today, we are joined by Mr. Navratna Kataria, Director of Innovation and Entrepreneurship in IoT and AI at METI NASSCOM Center of Excellence. He has over 30 years of experience in sectors such as solar and deep tech. He's currently serving as director of NASSCOM COE, where he actively promotes entrepreneurship in IoT and AI space. We are excited to hear his thoughts and on the intersection of technology and entrepreneurship.
A few months back, we got a homework. You know, we are in an academic institution, we went to director's office, and he said, and I would suggest that he better take a copyright on this first purchase order is very critical. This is actually sounding so very well placed. So we had to take the homework. Who doesn't worry about the grades, right? So we took that because we've done over 500 use cases in last 8 years. We are a initiative of MITI, the government of India, and the industry. Now NASSCOM being a association of all IT companies, but we've seen that over a period of time, we at Center have developed the relationship with the non-IT companies, the companies which want to adopt digital innovations. So we have received a large number of requests from industries, and what Professor Kamakoti said, please, I don't think he has to repeat these 3 Ps, because each industry today recognizes for them to remain competitive, they have to not only place this 10 lakh rupees purchase order, but they have to inculcate the habit of continuously working with the startup world. They cannot remain competitive of future without being involved with the startup world, and that's what we have been trying to do. Over years, we have been not only incubating. The other factor that we have tried to do is we do not invest into any startup in the country, and the reason was we wanted to remain unbiased and be able to help and support any startup which walks into our area. The result is that when we go to the industry, they say, look, this is the use case we want to get solved, and we try to bring any startup in the country and across 10 countries bilateral relationships that we have, because we believe that startups have to cross boundaries. They should go without any visas to any part of the world. With the bilateral relationship, we realize that all the multinationals that we have brought in fact, most of our partners are multinationals, they take a lot of innovations from India, but they're, hesitant. The snake charmers countries is still a challenge for them. What we realize that with every 5 days, we get an international delegation coming here from bureaucrats to politicians and industrialists. We need to tell the story of India innovation, that it's not only the center of development, but it's the center where scaling happens today. And thanks to the population that we have, there's no other country which can scale to the level that we are. And the biggest contribution every industry can do is because they have this muscle power of finance, the brand, the problems that they know, the industry that they represent, and to remain competitive. I think it's very important for us to bring this matchmaking to work between industries or the adopters. And when I say industries, we also work with the government of India and the governments of states. The reason being, a lot of these solutions that have been developed will be bought by the governments also. Now it's a challenge, but I think the place where we are sitting is there's a good year that we get, and we hope that a lot of these startups will be able to really get deeper into the ecosystem of innovation adoption and show their results impacting the society. We welcome all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kataria, for your insightful word. Lastly, I would like to welcome our faculty advisor, Professor Prabhu Rajgopal. He's been a guiding light behind Nirmaan, providing mentorship and invaluable advice at our young entrepreneurs.
Thank you so much, Yuvraj. Welcome all of you to our very first demo day at Nirmaan. So Nirmaan, as you know, is the pre-incubator of IIT Madras. What we want to do is to be able to catalyze the great innovations that have been happening at various places on campus. So new discoveries, IP filings are happening from the Centers of Excellence at IIT Madras, and also student maker spaces such as the Center for Innovation. What we at Nirmaan want to do is encourage all these people to start up. And to do that, we want to create a risk-free sandbox environment. And that's how we have evolved into this two-stage pre-incubation phase, where the phase 1, as director said, Pratham, is about fearlessly trying out ideas, trying to see if we can create an MVP out of an idea or an IP that somebody comes up with. So the thing I want to emphasize today is that Nirmaan is open to all who want to have an IIT Madras connection. So it is primarily focused at IIT Madras students, but indeed today our programs are open to students or entrepreneurial young people from anywhere in the region. Then, the second phase of full formal pre-incubation involves further funding support and mentorship and market connects. So we have come up in a dynamic equilibrium with our environment. IIT Madras today has a number of initiatives themed around entrepreneurship. We have the Carbon Zero Challenge, we have the Sustainability Incubator, we have the AI Incubator coming up on one hand. And across the campus, we have our partners, the Incubation Cell and IIT Madras Research Park. I'm very glad they are represented here. We have here Dr. Tamaswati, Mr. Nat, who are CEOs of the respective organizations. Thanks so much for being here with us. And so what we are doing is ratcheting up partnerships with these organizations such that we have this seamless flow that Professor Kamakoti visualizes. From the day somebody walks in with an idea to the day they go away with a startup, we want to create that bridge and encourage that whole process. I'm very grateful that the Institute is supporting us in this process. Thanks to Professor Satya, who has been an invaluable support to us in our journey. Now, coming to this particular demo day concept, I must say that the germination of this was about 5 years ago at the demo day organized by the Incubation Cell in 2019. That remains as an iconic day in our memories when over 100 startups displayed their work. And we saw that the buzz that was created led to several partnerships, lot of VC investments, and lot of POs and so on. So that stayed with me personally, and I thought that when startups are given an opportunity to showcase their work, that's when new collaborations will flow out. So ever since I took over as the faculty in charge of Nirmaan and the Office of Innovation and Entrepreneurship, this is an idea I have been floating. The students, I'm very thankful to Yuvraj and his team that they have run away with it and created what we have today. So I welcome all of you to sample what the students have on offer. We have about 30 stalls today, where each of them dedicated to single startup, and there are some excellent innovations that have come up. So to my VC friends who all have responded to my call and Dr. Tamaswati's call, thank you so much for being with us. When I went to meet director just on Monday together with Yuvraj, he said, where are the VCs? Who are the ones coming here? And he said, those should be the prime target of this event. So I'm so glad that many of you have heeded our call. Thank you so much. I would like to thank NASSCOM for partnering with us and creating the buzz that has happened. And we have a lot of industry partners. And finally, thank you, Dr. Srikanth. So Doc is with us, and we are very grateful for that. Thank you so much. Yeah, Yuvraj.
Thank you once again to all the distinguished guests for sharing their insights and support. As a student head, I would like to take the stage to thank all the thank director, thank all the deans, all the professors who helped Nirmaan throughout the years, and the alums who have supported us from the start. Specifically mentioning Mr. V. Shankar, who has the name on this building, and Mr. Lakshmi Narayanan, whose monetary support started the Nirmaan. So officially. I would like to invite Professor Prabhu to give the token of gratitude to all the guests.
So I just wanted to say the word please, please, please came up several times. That's also my favorite song, as will many of young people here will know. So please, please, please enjoy yourself. You can play Sabrina.
So we officially kick off the Nirmaan Demo Day. Let's get ready to witness some amazing innovations from startups. So I'd like to invite Vikas to announce the next event. Thank you, everyone.
Good morning, everyone, and a warm welcome to all of you at Nirmaan's Demo Day. I am Vikash, and it's my privilege to host our first event of the day, the Leaders Talk on Industry 4.0. We are excited to have 4 highly respected leaders with us today who will share their insights on leadership, innovation, and growth in the emerging sectors of Industry 4.0. Moderating today's session is Dr. Shrikant Sundarajan, General Partner at Venture East. Dr. Sundarajan brings with him extensive experience in technology and entrepreneurship, having held leadership roles at major companies like HP, Cognizant Technology Solutions, and Persistent Systems Limited. He is widely recognized for his expertise in venture capital and guiding startups through their growth stage. We are privileged to have him lead today's discussion. Welcome, sir. Now, let me introduce our first panelist, Mr. Srini Mahalingam, currently the Senior Vice President at GS Lab. With over 22 years of experience in healthcare IT, Mr. Mahalingam has led complex digital solution transformation initiatives. He has been a thought leader in building competencies around data interoperability, AI, and analysis with significant expertise in EMR modernization and managed services for healthcare providers. His leadership in program management, product consulting, and business development has significantly impacted the healthcare landscape. Welcome, sir. Next, we have S.A. Sundar Sen, who is currently the head of new technologies at Ashok Leyland, with an over 34-year career as an entrepreneur and technology innovator. Mr. Sundar Sen has played a key role in the development of electric vehicles and zero-emission transport technologies. His experience spans multiple industries, including sheet metal engineering, system engineering, and digital twin technologies. He is now leading Ashok Leyland's efforts to drive future-ready innovations in the automotive space. Welcome, sir. And finally, our third speaker, Dr. Prashant Sinde, currently the zonal head at IDFC Bank, First Bank. With extensive experience in the banking sector, Dr. Shinde has been instrumental in expanding the retail banking business. His leadership in managing businesses development and his strategic vision have helped transform IDFC First Bank's presence across multiple regions. Welcome, sir. Together, these distinguished speakers will offer us valuable perspective on leadership challenge and opportunities in their respective industries. Without further delay, let's begin. Over to you, Dr. Shrikant, sir.
Thank you. Am I audible? All right, thanks. So what we want to do is keep it very, very kind of informal and informative as opposed to making it very, very dreary. And we'll try to open it up to the audience as much as possible so they can also participate. So without further ado, I'll start off with Dr. Shinde and IDFC first, because it's one of the very few banks who actually took a very forward step in 2015 when they appointed a good friend of mine, with my inputs also, as your first independent director, Rajan Anandan, who was part of Google. So this became a huge thing because for the first time a PSU like Quasi Bank actually started to do a lot of innovation. So any thoughts on that? What has happened since those initial days, and how do you think you can come in and influence some place like Nirmaan? Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I'm extremely thankful to Nirmaan, IIT Madras, and NASSCOM for this wonderful opportunity. Thanks for this question, sir, because at the heart of our bank, Mr. V. Vaidyanathan's vision, he echoes everything that's happening around the startup piece. In fact, we boast to call ourselves as the startup bank because as in the capacity of a bank, as we are as old as about 6 years now, with more than 600 branches across India. What we firmly believe is we need to embark this journey with the startups right from their early stage. And that's where probably the one name that you mentioned had been extremely instrumental. More importantly, we are probably one of those banks who have a very dedicated startup cell which echoes not only the financial needs of the startup, but of course, anything which has to do with the intelligence stack, digital solutions, or the payment solution that we do. Personally, Mr. Vaidyanathan had been extremely involved with all the activities that are happening around in terms of the startup space. I'm sure you would be aware that with CNBC 18 also, we had been among those pioneers who had been shaking hand as far as the startup movement is concerned. This particular platform is also an excellent platform for us because we will get an opportunity to interact with the early stage startups, and we are committed to do whatever value addition that we can do as in the capacity of a bank, and it will be more of a telemed rather than what we have on the cards. Thank you so much for that.
So quickly switching thoughts, we'll just go to Mr. Mahalingam here. And he's actually part of a very cool company which has been focused on health tech for a number of years and innovations. I'm sure they can do a lot more. So I was encouraging him to come here and spend more time. And I told him to wear a t-shirt and all. I don't know why he wore a formal kind of attire today. But I'm hoping that he can talk through all the innovations that you're doing in the healthcare segment and how what Pravartak is doing in case of low-cost healthcare, and a bunch of companies here or ideas which are aimed at what is called impactful healthcare or rural healthcare, which is what Professor Kamakoti mentioned earlier. So if you can actually shed some light on that, that'll be fantastic.
Thank you, Doctor. First of all, very good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me here. What a great place to be here, and as Professor Kamakoti said, dream come true. Finally, I can go back to my friends and family and said, I went to IIT Madras. You know what I mean. Giants, NASSCOM, Nirmaan, IIT Madras have all come together. So a great place to be here. And so a little bit about our organization, maybe quick 30 seconds. So GS Lab GAVS, we are the IT innovative services organization working with many of our industry customers across the globe, especially focusing on the healthcare industry. And that's why I'm here, talking about the healthcare industry experience and the exposure. And we already have a good partnership with NASSCOM, encouraging many of these startups, connecting them with the healthcare industry experts. And we also are proud to say that we do have partnership with IIT Madras, mutually benefiting that they encouraging our learning academy to actually coaching our employees on the latest technology, and also we involving a lot of students from IIT Madras in a lot of the AI initiatives that we are working on directly with the customers. So that's happening, but I am now happy part of here, and definitely I'll go back and see what opportunities that we can get for people who are part of this Nirmaan. Since Dr. Srikant said that we want this to be informal, I'm taking the liberty to ask any student here, if you can say, in your opinion, what is AI? Anyone?
Anyone in the first 4 or 5 rows? Just take a stab at it.
Please. You feel it's a data. Okay. Why AI? You can just call it data, right? Good. Good. Good answer. Thank you. Okay. I'll come to it in what I want to say. And again, as any good stab at, what do you think can AI do in healthcare, in your opinion? Please. Perfect. Perfect. She said predicting the diseases of patients where AI comes in. Perfect. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Thank you for that, right? So let me quickly answer those two, right? AI, people refer to that as artificial intelligence, but my favorite is, I always say it is augmented intelligence, especially for healthcare. And I'll say why in my next round. And second, AI in healthcare, people just visualize that it directly jumps into doctors doing something, robotic surgery and all that, because that's what we think that AI can do, which is true, by the way. But then AI is a journey in healthcare where there are a lot of non-clinical aspects that has to be taken care in the healthcare industry. For example, I'll just say that a lot of us have been to hospitals for our families and friends. We got admitted there, and I don't know how many of you have seen a seamless discharge experience from the hospital after you are cured. It's a pain. Where I see that AI plays a great role, especially with Gen AI, the recent buzzword in the market, can play a huge role in actually making the discharge summary of a patient. When a patient is ready to be discharged, patient can walk out of the hospital in 30 minutes once doctor says that the patient is good to go. And that is the kind of thing, it has nothing to do with doctors treating a patient, right? Everything is done. The patient is just good to go from the hospital, but still it takes time. So this actually improves the patient experience beyond the treatment that is given by the doctor, right? And I can say many things where it can improve the experience of the doctor, nurse, and all the clinical staff. So these are some of the use cases that we are working on. If time permits, I'll probably give a couple of samples and then elaborate on that, right? But this is where I want to start with. Thank you, Doctor.
Thanks, Srini. Now I'll go back to my buddy here. I say buddy because we actually spent time on campus during our BTech years, but he spent a number of years in the transportation industry, especially off late, focusing on the EV mobility programs, advanced EV mobility, unmanned vehicles, with Ashok Leland. Please welcome Mr. Sundareshan. I'll ask you a couple of questions. I mean, these are buzzwords. A lot of stuff is going on in IIT Madras. I'm sure you're coming. So how do we shake things out where we can actually establish pole position vis-a-vis the world? Because we can still catch up. It's not as though something superb is going on in the US. So what are your views on that?
There is a lot of work happening here. There is one Center of Excellence for Zero Emission Trucking that started in the last 12 months or so, which is doing a lot of work. And of course, both the Department of Design, Department of Electrical Engineering, Chemical Engineering, they are working on different battery chemistries, problems that are faced by the batteries in electric vehicles, the motors, different kinds of topologies, rare earth magnet free motors, or even in PMSM, how do we get the better efficiencies and all that. A lot of things happening here, but end of the day, nothing comes to the market. Very little comes to the market. Multiple reasons. The biggest reason I see is we don't have the complete ecosystem. We get research ideas, we can prototype, but can we manufacture it? No. Because our manufacturing technology stopped, I think, with machining. We did not, I mean, when I studied here, our manufacturing technology covered only machining, nothing about semiconductors, nothing about any other manufacturing or chemical processing. All of that is manufacturing, but unfortunately we are nowhere there. So even if we develop a motor, we can't make it, especially the motors that we need, which are like 250 kilowatt motors. We don't have the machinery, we don't have the winding machines, we can't make. Even when it comes to the batteries, same. We can come up with a cell chemistry, but we can't set up a cell manufacturing plant. So that's the major drawback in taking technology developed here into the market.
So I'm going to turn this question back. What can Ashok Leyland and other companies actually come in and change? Because they are at the forefront, they have access to the market, they already have manufacturing facilities. I'm sure with little bit of kind of push from the government, you can establish something which is very different. Because obviously from a prof standpoint, from an academic standpoint, you and I know there's only so many limitations.
So PLI, the scheme that the government has introduced, which is production linked incentive program. So if an organization sets up a factory with fresh investment, then part of it is given as subsidy by the government. So that's an excellent scheme to encourage. But one thing that is plaguing back Indian automotive industry is that we compete only on cost. So because of that, organizations, especially in the commercial vehicle space, are just unable to invest. So we have been talking to the government to modify that PLI scheme a little bit more, because right now, in order to avail PLI scheme benefits, there is a window of 3 years. We don't see ourselves recovering that investment in 3 years. No way. We need at least a 10, 12 year kind of a window. So we've been asking for extended time. And the second that plagues us is almost all the major players in India. Essentially, for commercial vehicles, there are 3, Ashok Leyland, Tata Motors and Eicher. We compete only in India. We don't go outside the country. So we cannot collaborate. And without collaboration, I don't really see volumes being there to justify investment in motors. Today, let's say we go to a motor maker and say, you make a motor for Ashok Leyland, but don't give it to Ashok, don't give it to Tata Motors. That's the condition we impose. And that doesn't help anybody. So at some point, I think as a country, we need to look at how do we collaborate at one level, but compete at another level, which somehow differentiates ourselves, and also start looking outside. I think as long as we want to compete within India, it is going to be tough for technologies where investment is of a scale totally different. I mean, for cells, gigawatt hour is no longer the, unit. We are looking at like 50 gigawatt hour, 100 gigawatt hour plant. And there's no way India is going to consume all that. So we have to look at markets outside India, at least for certain of these products.
Thank you. That's very insightful and hopeful. I'm just assuming that you'll be able to influence the government and modify the PLI and probably bring elements of it back into IIT and other academic institutions. I want to go back to Dr. Shinde. You said you begin the journey very early with startups. But all of us, me being a VC, me being an entrepreneur, me being a prof, me being an exec, we've always actually seen there's a lot of friction when it comes to interfacing with banks. Especially, we don't even know the value of what a Startup India certificate is, because that's not valued by banks, but it's valued by the government. And GST, I think early stage companies suffer a lot and their cash flows get impacted. So how are you trying to change that inside IDFC? What special schemes do you have to offer to some of the startups here? That'll be wonderful.
I'm so grateful, Dr. Srikanth, for asking that question, because that provides me an opportunity to mention about what exactly we are bringing to the table as in the capacity of a bank. When it comes to startup, typically, one thing is for sure that it is getting the account open in order to, like you said, the GST per se. Having said so, beyond the banking needs, they have a lot of requirement as the early stage startup. Just take an example that they will be constraint of the manpower. They'll be constrained in terms of the advisory as far as legal and taxation is concerned. We come across with a startup proposition. First of all, to all the startups, we provide this current account where we don't have any conditions in terms of maintaining any kind of balances. That's a big boost for a simple reason is their amounts are not blocked. They can use the entire amount. Second, when I say beyond banking, we have roped in almost about 60 services which we bring to the startup absolutely free of cost, whether it is legal advisory or it is taxation or the GST assistance that we provide. At the same time, when it comes to the early stage startup, in case if they have completed more than 1 year period, we also come across with the financial aid. And that's where probably we are able to make the difference. Today, as we speak, the startup which are banking with us, which are at the early stage, we have some education or some awareness program. We call it as Founders Friday, where on a Friday, typical Friday, somebody, renowned person like you is called upon to the bank branch, where all our account holders who are at the early stage of startup, we'll get to hear from you in terms of your experience. How had been your journey? Okay, what exactly you have done? That's very initial thing that we call it as Founders Friday. Then there is a program called as Live to Unicorn, whereby we make the platform available in association with CNBC to make your product known and get the VCs, get the investors to put in money with you. I'm very glad to tell you in the first phase of Live to Unicorn, we have already done many. But in the first phase of Live to Unicorn, we could get the agreements to the tune of $8 million, out of which 1.8 crores are already executed. And that is the sole purpose of not keeping the bank involved only with the banking needs. But for the startup beyond banking, what are the things that we are creating? That's what the endeavor is. And this has been doing very actively. We have a huge team across the country which are primarily engaging with the startups in order to do those value additions. One of the things that I mentioned about the current account that we offer, we make the payment gateways absolutely free of cost for all the startups. We bear the cost because we firmly believe as a bank that we will grow along with these startups. As the startups will grow, they will primarily be banking with us. Our journey will be together. I can go on like there are people who have done very well ever since they started with us. And as the founders, they have a decent amount of money in their personal capacity also. Now, probably you would be aware, IDFC First Bank is known to be giving the highest rate of interest on the savings account balances. And the best thing is we credit this interest on a monthly basis to the account. Last but not the least, something very disruptive that IDFC First Bank has done is offering the interest on the current account balances. Typically, whoever is a businessman maintaining the account with any other bank, okay, current account is not an interest-bearing account. But we firmly believe that in case if the money is lying idle in the account, it should be earning some amount of interest on it. So any balances beyond 2 lakh rupees that the current account is maintaining, we offer them interest also on the balances above 2 lakh rupees. Startup per se, we have 100% commitment because we want that the program and the products that we will be offering should be distinct enough. And when I say this, I am very proud that Mr. V. Vaidyanathan has his commitment towards the entire startup ecosystem as far as India is concerned. And that's the reason, as a bank, we are very proud that we have something extremely unique to offer to all the startups. Thank you so much, sir, for asking that.
So, Dr. Shinde, we will hold you accountable for at least 10 disbursals and 10 companies from here going onto the CNBC platform.
In fact, we take down the details and we make sure. Yeah,
please note it down. He's a very popular man today. Don't let him go. So at least some of you will actually get at least displayed on CNBC.
Absolutely. And we make sure that as and we get the details about the startup program that they have, basis the merit, we have made this platform available. And there are companies which reached out to those forums of Leap to Unicorn and got the funding also done. We are very proud that we could make that valuation, not that we are doing everything, but we provided that platform.
Fantastic. So now I'll get back to Srini here from GAVS and GS Labs. We talked a little bit about basic questions about Gen AI, LLMs, modeling, why data is important, why predictive analytics, etc. is important. But one of the things which sets us back in the healthcare segment, at least my observation is, number one, all the hospital chains are a real pain to deal with because they're run by MBA types, which they don't want to spend money doing. And getting clinical trials, even though we have a large opportunity of data, is also difficult. And most of our standard of care is derived from the West, whereas our genes are very different. So what are you doing to change that?
So to your first question, it's a challenge, right? Selling technology to the healthcare sector, especially here in India. I'll maybe give a quick episode that happened. So we went to a very big hospital and we were talking to their CMO, the Chief Medical Officer, right? And our selling proposition was, hey, we have this mobile app that we developed, which can be used by the doctors, nurses, everyone. They can all collaborate with each other. They can talk to each other, and they'll be able to give a great treatment and experience to the patients and all that, right? So it can be Android, iOS, and all that. The simple answer from him was, today I do that through a WhatsApp group chat. all my doctors and nurses are talking in the group chat and doing the same thing. Why do I need an app? So we fell flat in that, right? So that's when we realized, so we also learn it very hard, and my advice to all the startups is understand the user pain points, before we go long in your journey of developing something, right? We might be technically very strong, but do we really understand the user perspective? So the same mobile app, what we redesigned was to say that it's not just a group chat feature, right? It's going to give the doctors a prediction about a patient's diagnosis. She was mentioning about that, right? Bring in AI into that. Bring in alerts and nudges saying that, hey, there is something going wrong with the patient, her nursing care, you need to attend to that patient. And then connect it through this IoT with the smart devices and all that, get the data and then make a risk score of the patient. All these features were then brought in. Then it became a viable product that they were able to see that, okay, now I'm going to get the benefit that I do not need these many nurses to take care of these many number of patients. I'll be able to save some cost. Now I will embrace the technology. So we just need to understand that user pain point and bring the right technology solution, then it's going to be an easy thing to adapt. So what we are doing is to again learn a lot of the user perspective on what they want and then build the solutions for them. And to answer your question on the data, it's still a problem, not just in India, but even in the US. And in fact, surprisingly, Doctor, what's happening now is we partnered with a lot of the US-based research organizations in building some healthcare specific solutions. They are interested in reading the patient demographic data of India and Asian population because they want to come here and hit this market, and they do not want to just bring a solution that's adapted in the west part of the world and bring it here. They are studying our patients' population, and I think it's shrinking now. It's happening.
So the sad part is we are not doing enough about our own population. So this is why I'm asking, is GAVS?
We are doing, we started with that. And that's when, thanks to Ayushman Bharat initiative, where the data interoperability within the India hospital ecosystem is improving now. And it will take a couple of years, but now we need to be an early adopter to build the solutions for the Indian healthcare market, not just for big hospitals, right? There are primary healthcare centers and all that. Take the healthcare to the remote and have ease. You can consult a specialist sitting in some remote part of the village, and the specialist can be here in Chennai and can give a consulting and also a treatment. We are actually partnering with a startup in Bangalore who are now setting up what they call as smart ICUs, which is like creating a command center with a group of doctors, technologists and nurses sitting in one place in Bangalore, and they will be able to read the patient's data from a remote rural part of India, where you need a very simple infrastructure of having a bed, some apparatus, the bedside apparatus and devices to monitor the health of the patients, but every other specialist consultation, recommendations, etc. will go from this command center. So that's how technology is improving in India.
So actually, just in the interest of time, as well as to make it a little bit more interactive, I'm going to throw it open to the floor. So please ask a few questions. We have time for about 3 questions to the panelists. Of course, I get a free pass here, so don't ask me any questions.
Question to Ashok Leland. You says a lot of R&D works we are going to do it. One of the R&D you mentioned that zero emission. Is it possible? Even if it's a e-vehicle, emission is there, or there is no environmental pollution also is there.
See, if you look at it that way, then there is really no zero emission. We, as Ashok Leland, we focus on tailpipe emission, and we hope the power producer will focus on their part, and then the battery maker will focus on the battery part. So overall, Yes, we do measure how much carbon we are emitting when we make the vehicle. That is being tracked, and hopefully we will go to a true zero carbon sometime. But yeah, I mean, whether you're emitting 100 kgs or 90 kgs, even that we think will make a difference.
Okay. Second subsequent question, you say motor, right? That is a Coimbatore area, a lot of manufacturer is there.
I mean, have you looked at the sizes?
Okay.
A 30 kilowatt motor from Coimbatore weighs as much as a 300 kilowatt motor that we buy from China.
Okay.
There's no way we
Size.
can put that kind of volume and weight both.
Okay.
Mathematically, there's no zero. Any other questions? Either to Dr. Shinde or Srini, especially in fintech, healthcare. Do you have any questions to ask of each other? Probably not.
So,
Okay, so I think would like to thank esteemed guests. Yeah, go ahead.
the question is like, who is going to issue the PO to these startups?
Yes, so I think number one, the venture debt is going to be offered by Dr. Shinde and he's going to put them onto the CNBC platform. Any health tech company, they're basically going to be involved. And Ashok Leyland will bring the PLI aspects to campus, right? So we'll at least see some action happening. That is basically the promise that I've extracted from all of them. So please help out. Okay.
Thank you.
So with that, we'll close this out. Thank you. I want to thank all our guests for taking time off and coming and making this happen. And please, do I need to hand them something?
There is one question.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, so as you mentioned about healthcare, so I also creating a software based on planning for surgery. So in that we are facing a problem where for doctors it is, as a students we are making with our technology, but if we go to doctors, there is a huge gap in that. So I don't know how to address that gap, because if you go to doctors, they also can't explain that what technology is needed properly. So how can you say?
No, very good question, right? Which is again, I told you, as a student, don't think that you are the only one there, right? We being in the industry, IT industry for long, dealing with healthcare customers, we face the same thing. I told you one example, right? What happened? As a doctor, you cannot go to them and ask what technology solution you want. They will not be able to answer you, right? The best way that we found through experience, again, there is no a standard operating procedure or rule here, is we actually sat with them. Should not disturb their routine, right? They'll be seeing 100 patients every day. Even 5 minutes spending with you is a waste of time for them, right? We sat with them every day, doctors, the nurses, and not just them, in the hospital, the operational staff working on the billing counter, reception, everyone. Our team, the business analysts and our industry experts, we went and spent few days there understanding their day in and day out operations, what they are doing. And then we listed down saying that here are the things that's happening, and we feel that here are the top 3 challenges that you feel, because I'll tell you an example, right? Again, forget about doctors and nurses. Outpatient billing. Look at the long line that will be there, right? Patient registration and outpatient billing. So we studied for a week, and then we proposed a solution saying that we are going to build a very small app, an IT solution to eradicate this billing line. And then we requested them to invest on few kiosks. So there will be patients, young patients, who are ready to use the kiosk instead of standing in the line. They can just register, because it's name, age, gender, your address, phone number is what you all need, right? And then they enter it, register. If you want to do a billing, GPay, done. Go and see a doctor, right? But if you go and ask them, right, do you need a solution for it? they will not say yes, and they will also not spend time with it. So best thing is to spend time with users, understand their challenges, and build a solution. And that's where people like us, right, who have seen that and done it, are ready to support the students, right, in providing the consulting and advising so that we'll be able to bridge the gap. We are ready to do that.
So we also have a department of medical science and technology. They have more passionate students. So it will be great if you.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'll probably follow up and then see how we can merge this gap. Definitely.
Make sure you don't let him go out of the building. Catch him, okay?
Yes, thank you.
All right, I think we are running out of time. Thank you for being such a wonderful audience. I want to thank all our guests once more and offer a small token of gratitude. That is basically one of these, what do you call, sustainability bags from IIT Madras. So it comes in handy for groceries too. It comes in handy for a bunch of things. So please do not discard them. Thank you.
Thank you to all our esteemed speakers for sharing your insights and experience with us today. Your perspectives on leadership, innovation, and industry growth has certainly provided us with valuable lessons and new ideas to take forward. And a big thank you to Dr. Shrikant Sundarajan for expertly moderating this session and leading the conversation. To our audience, we found this discussion as enlightening as we did. We will now take a short break. Tea break will happen on first floor. You can take the left side stairs or lift. We will resume shortly for the next session. Thank you.
may I have your attention? We are going to start our next event in 5 minutes. Like this. Welcome back, everyone. I hope all of you had a refreshing tea break. We're about to kick off the next exciting segment of our event, go-to-marketing strategies for IoT and AI startups. This session is designed to dive deep into the strategies and approaches startups can use to position themselves effectively in the market. And now to help us navigate this fascinating topic, I'm thrilled to introduce Anita Rao Gadyar. She's the head of IoT practices and leads pre-sales and strategic initiatives at Hitachi Digital Services. We are fortunate to have her with us today to share valuable insights. Please join me in welcoming her to the stage.
You can use this pointer.
I can just use this also, right? Okay.
Yeah, you can use this.
Hello, everybody. First of all, I want to say thanks to NASSCOM, Nirmaan, and IIT for having me here. I'm so excited to be here because looking at each and every idea and startup that is being showcased here, and knowing that all of these ideas are going to take our country forward one step at a time, it gives me so much, immense pride at looking at all of this. And I'm very excited for what more all of you have to offer. So to start with, okay. So let's just start with first looking at what are the mistakes that startups usually make. So one of the things is that when you start developing a product for the first time, you start looking at whether there's a need for that in the market. Then you have to start looking at whether you can get seed funding and customers. But the reality is that in the IoT space specifically, the problem that comes is that this is a very niche space, right? So the kind of problems that also are part of this space are also very niche. So I'll give you an example. So if you start off with a project that looks at an industrial IoT implementation, the problem that comes is when you start off and if you don't define the success criteria literally well, there is a very good chance that your project can fail. And the reason that the project fails is because the business itself finds it very hard to kind of define what the KPIs are. So defining what success really means is the biggest challenge that you will initially face when you start looking at all of these projects. The important thing to do when you try to address some of this is that have a clear conversation with your customer to start off with saying, what does success mean to you? What does it look like? What are we trying to measure? So the KPIs that you define in the initial phases is something that you can start tracking. And when you start delivering the project, when you start looking at how the data comes together, when you start looking at what the visualization will be, what kind of analytics you're going to derive from all of that data, when you start looking at this and tracking it with, measuring it back from where you started, that will give you an instance of, where you are, how far you've come, and all of that. So starting point is start measuring where you are. So that's the most important thing. The second thing is when you start looking at an initial pilot. So in the IoT world, there's a very important thing, right? So most projects don't move beyond the pilot. So in that kind of a scenario, when the fact is that, you don't know whether the project will actually move beyond that, the important thing is for a business to start looking at where your revenue will come from. So are you looking at new customers as your revenue? Is that where your growth is going to come from? Or are you actually looking at recurring revenue? So when you build a business model, make sure to define which is the path that you want to take. Are you going to look mostly at the recurring business that you will get? Or are you going to look at mostly the new customer acquisition? It's also to look at which is easier for you when you start off, right? So when you start off, is it easier for you to go talk to newer customers, get more pilots going? Or are you going to look at a strategy which revolves around recurring business, which means you're going to try and see what those recurring business streams are. So you start off with one project, but then you look at, is there a scaling opportunity there? You start off with one plant, and then you look at whether there's a potential for you to extend that to the second plant, third plant. So most of the manufacturers typically have at least 3 or 4 or 5 plants in a particular region, right? So if you take South, most of our major manufacturers in India will at least have 3 to 4 or 5 plants. So are you going to look at a strategy that actually scales to each of those plants, right? Are you going to be able to do that? Do you have the resources in order to scale to that factories, right? All of those factories in the south and then north. So that is a strategy that you need to think of in the beginning. So how are you going to really grow? What is your sustainable growth? Where is it going to come from? The other important thing, and this is especially true for IoT startups again, right? I come from that world, so I'm giving you a lot more examples of IoT. So not having a clear distinction between, are you playing with the software? Are you also a hardware provider? How does the interplay of hardware and software work, right? Because one doesn't exist without the other. There are so many instances that we see when we talk to our customers where the customer has already had hardware installed and they're getting data over a period of 3 or 4 years, right? And if you look at industrial IoT specifically, over a period of 3 or 4 years, every day they might be generating like terabytes of data. So you have so much of data sitting around, right? Simple example, you take energy meters in any factory. Most of the factories, they might have energy meters already installed, but they just don't know what to do with them. So when you are a startup and you're trying to address an area that is trying to either optimize energy or water, I actually saw a startup here that is actually trying to optimize water, right? So water metering. So when you try doing anything which involves utility metering kind of projects, make sure that you understand what the customer might already have. So your strategy should be around working with what the customer already has, rather than saying that I come with this and I want you to see how best this will fit into your ecosystem, right? Because every customer, if you look at the IoT space, has a very, very different ecosystem. So you need to be able to see not only from a technology point of view, but also from a business point of view, how exactly you will fit into their ecosystem. And the last point here that I want to talk about is the tendency that usually we have is to try and do everything, right? But when you start off, you need to be very clear what you want to start with. If you start getting bigger, you get into sustainable growth, obviously you can try to do more. But when you start out, you need to be very, very clear on what you're starting off with. What is it that you want to start off with? What is your next goal? How will you grow from point A to point B? What are the steps that you will take to grow there? And once you get there, what will your next step be? So are you going to expand? Are you going to increase your scope? Are you going to look at more of customer acquisition strategies, right? So that path has to be defined. So these are the things that I wanted to first start off with, because the space that we are looking at, in terms of IoT and AI, it's very different from, the normal startups that we have. So I've talked about some of the mistakes, right? So typically now these days, right, what do we do when we start? So first thing is we ask, obviously, ChatGPT, right? So we ask ChatGPT, give me a solution to my problem. So that's what I did as well, right? So some version of, if you ask ChatGPT about a GTM strategy, this is one version of what you will get. So when you look at this exercise, right, like trying to know your market, knowing your audience, defining your value proposition, every startup does this at some point or the other. It turns out sometimes to be a theoretical exercise where you have to sit and imagine what all of this would look like. Because at this point, you're still creating something. You're still in the lab. You're trying to bring something to life. But then when you are at that stage and when you're expected to think of all these things, right, which is very much into the future. For example, price for value, right? I mean, you don't even know what you will end up with at that point when you're starting off, and you're expected to do all of these things. The point is that stage, this will still be a theoretical exercise, but you still need to do it. 100% you need to do all of these things because you still need a reference point when you start off. But once you do this, once you finish all of this, that is when, you will actually have all of your product built and everything, and then you go into the real world, right? And then somebody asks you, what are you selling, right? That's the question that everybody, in fact, even today, I'm sure a lot of people who are visiting the booths are asking the same question, right? What are you selling? So what you're selling should never look like this. It shouldn't look like a jumble sale, right? Where I'm trying to sell all of these things. I have all of these amazing things that I have, and I'm willing to sell you anything that you want to buy from me, which is probably the statement that a lot of Indian IT companies have grown with, right? So anything that the customer is willing to buy, we are willing to sell to them. So we say we will create a COE, we'll create a practice. Everything is created around something that the customer is willing to buy from us. But as a startup, you probably don't have that luxury of trying to say, I will do everything under the sun. So you have to be, again, very clear, where do you start with, right? What do you do? Where do you start with? So simple thing is, if you're looking at a problem, an industrial IoT problem, right? You're looking at a problem where you're looking at, for instance, you're trying to say that there's a machine downtime that is happening and I want to address that in some way. So I want to help the customer calculate their OEE. I want to make sure that in the course of everything that they do, I want to create this entire smart factory for them. I want to make sure that digital manufacturing is happening. So all of these are great ideas, right? But if you look at the concept of industrial IoT and smart factory, it's a broad area. So if you start looking at one single aspect of it, one aspect of it could be energy management. So if you start there, right? So when you talk to a customer, say, I can do energy management for you. So the question that will come back is, what can you do for me in energy management? Do you give me the meters? Will you give me analytics? Will you give me ways that I can optimize my energy? How much of savings will I get from all of this? So the point is, all of these questions come back, right? So the point is, if you have answers to these questions already, it becomes easier. But when you have that first conversation with the customer, it's very difficult to have all of these answers, right? So that is the reason why this space becomes a very difficult sell. So every time there is a question about what are you selling, the biggest problem that comes is to be able to tell with clarity that this is what I'm selling, this is what I do right now, and then talk about what you can do from there on. So simple things, right? So coming from the industry myself, I've worked with a lot of startups in the past as well. So sometimes, there are things that work, sometimes things don't work. So you also need to understand that when larger companies try to work with startups, they might actually have experiences from their past that, might not be so favorable, right? So it's not that they're really trying to, give you a tough time or, trying to take advantage of you and things like that. The point is that there could have been bad experiences for them in the past. So it's also up to all of us to try and see that the conversation and the liaison actually becomes easier, right? It becomes more seamless and less friction and things like that. So the simple thing that you can do, right? So one thing is when somebody asks you, what does your product or your solution do, right? You need to be clear on what you are selling and what you're not selling. So again, an example, going back to the hardware and software play, right? So if you are an IoT software startup, then be very clear that the hardware has to come from the customer. So be very clear that, if you have your energy meters already installed, or if you have sensors already installed, what I can give you is a lot of analytics on that. I can help you make sense of the data that you're already collecting. Be very clear on what you offer them. Be very clear on what you also not give them, right? So they shouldn't get the impression that you're giving them something like an end-to-end solution, and then, finally what you're doing is just one small part of it, right? And don't try to do more than what you already are doing as well, right? So don't try to extend your scope, nor do you try to undersell yourself. So it's about clarity with respect to what you're doing, what you want to do, where you want to position yourself in the market. And the second question will be in terms of where your solution will fit into their existing problem, right? Or their customer problem. So they might be working with a customer who has a problem. And within IoT, it's always an ecosystem play, right? So within their business, where does this fit in? So you need to also help your customer, your initial customer, understand where your product will also work, how will it finally get used in the real world project. So that kind of a connection is something that you'll have to help them build. Because deep tech and all of the work that we are doing with the technology is great, but then until it actually hits the real world and it really connects to a business problem, that is when the magic happens, right? So that magic has to be enabled by all of you, right? So the business world is not going to come to you and say, let me try and find a use case for what you're trying to do, right? So you need to try and see that you give them ways that they can use your product. And the last thing is, and this is probably the biggest problem that most of the companies face, that when they work with startups, the business model, the pricing, it keeps changing. So as the startups evolve, their ideas evolve, it is also natural that the way that they would want to price their product or offering might also change. But the point is, can you actually give them something which is close to stable? Because for a larger company, they might have commitments that they've made to their customers. And not to be able to honor some of those commitments would be very difficult. And if the pricing model changes, that's the very, very basic thing. So you don't want that to happen at all. So try to be stable with the kind of pricing that you can offer, at least to the customer that you're initially working with. So when you start to craft your strategy, right? So there are things that you need to first look at, and there are things that you need to learn as well. So especially for AI and IoT startups, it always fits into an industry value chain, right? So there are bigger things that happen in the industry, in the value chain. For instance, in the manufacturing value chain, there are a lot of things that actually happen. You need to understand where you fit into that value chain, and you also need to understand where everybody else sits as well. So you need to understand the entire ecosystem where you work. Because not understanding that ecosystem would mean that you first cannot take advantage of everything that's happening around you, and first you don't know what your identity is. So apart from the technology, apart from the great work that tech can do for you, try and understand what the business really is. Try and understand the value chain of the industry that you're targeting. That is extremely important. The second thing that is also important is to help your customer build a business case. So what I mean by that is, when you start working with a customer, right, you go and tell them that my product, my solution gives you all of these benefits, right? It will make your downtime, lesser. It will give you optimization on your energy, on water, on a lot of parameters. It can do a lot of things for you. But what I mean by a business case is a lot of IoT projects that also need to get funded. So a lot of IoT projects that get funded from within the organization, what happens is that the team that you're working with also needs to establish to their leadership, right, the place where they get their funds from. So there will be a budget that they have to get approved. So if they have to do that, they need to understand how they can build a business case. A lot of times, if you are not able to help them build that business case, your idea may not really go beyond that point, right? So the initial conversation, the person that you're talking to is really happy, they want to work with you, but they also need to know how to sell it to their boss as well. So that ability to build a business case, give them ideas on, how your solution, how your product will help them make their business better, to maybe optimize, to grow their revenue, to build cost savings. So whatever it is that you want to do, help them understand what that business case would look like. What is the percentage that you can offer them in terms of optimization, in terms of savings? So that's very, very critical. So don't only sell benefits, don't only sell USP and say, this is what I do that is very, very different from everything that everybody else does. So that's something that companies hear all the time. So if you want to work with larger companies, make sure that you are in a position to give them data that will give them some way of creating a business case, right? And in order to do that, you might actually have to visit factories. In the case of industrial IoT, you might have to visit factories. You might want to understand how things work. So wherever you're getting the opportunity to do that, take those opportunities. Make sure you visit customers. Make sure that you talk to them, understand what their problems are, so that you can actually build that business case when it is needed. Getting access to the right buyer, I would say, is another critical thing, right? So most times than not, what happens is, we try to sell to a company, we go through somebody that we know, we try and see that, no, we can sell to that company through a particular channel. But industrial IoT and AI specifically needs people who are much beyond technology as well. So initially you can maybe sell to their tech group, but beyond that you really need to sell to the business, because if you're not able to sell to the business, the scale is not going to happen. So initial like getting a project, initial projects, a few projects, right, customers, you can actually do it with probably just technology. Maybe you can. But beyond that, if you really are looking at going, beyond that, right, you're trying to build a sustainable business, you're trying to scale, you still need to be able to talk to the business. You need to know who your buyer will be. So unless you talk to the right buyer, it's very difficult, at least in this space, in the IoT space, because anything that you do in the factory, and this has been my experience as well, a lot of the projects that we try to do with our customers, anything that you want to touch in the factory, right? I'll give you a simple example. We were trying to do an augmented reality project with one of the FMCG companies in Europe. So what we wanted to do was, simple. We just wanted to put an AR, a marker on the machinery. So what happened is that, somebody who actually comes and, looks at the machinery, they didn't like that marker there. So they just said, okay, let me just take it off, right? I don't like this being on my machine. I want it to be the surface that it was. I'll just take it off. So the point is, you need to make sure that, simple things. You want to put a marker, you want to put a sensor somewhere. The factory workers, the operators, the line managers, they should be okay with what you're trying to do. So first make sure that, when you're trying to sell something like this, make sure that the person who will finally use it approves of it, right? Just make sure that you get their blessings as well, because these small things matter in factories because people are set in their ways of working. So introducing something new as a technology in those kind of places might boomerang if you actually don't take the right channel to get there. So lastly, I want to talk about, when you're saying, again, what are you trying to sell, right? To them, what are you trying to sell? Are you telling them that their revenue will grow because of the fact that you're giving them energy meters? Are you telling them that they will get optimization because of that? Are they going to get cost savings? Be very clear about what is it that they're buying from you. And that is what will determine whether they want to actually put money on the table or not. So that is another critical thing. So I want to just leave you with a couple of parting thoughts, right? So when you look at all of these things that I've said, right? So a lot of things that I've talked about in terms of do this, do that. For a startup, I also understand that when you're just in that initial stage, it's very difficult to kind of do everything, right? Because you're still trying to figure out a lot of what you're doing. You're still reading up on what is happening in the market. Simple things, right? So there is actually a concept called a lighthouse factory, right? So when you talk about pilots, you also need to understand that there are factories in the world which have actually achieved lighthouse status. So what that means is, initially when a pilot starts, right? So you have a pilot that starts off in one single factory, and then you actually move beyond that. You get to the point where there is robotic automation, things like that. There's an agile, optimized factory environment that you have. So when all of this happens, the World Economic Forum actually looks at it, and there's something called a lighthouse factory that they actually accredit, which means you have actually achieved industrial IoT at scale. So there are very few factories in the world which actually do that. So you might read about a lot of these things, right? You might try to see, how do I get there, right? How do I scale from this pilot? How do I try and see that the customer that I work with, gets to a lighthouse factory? All of this doesn't happen in a short time, right? So the journey to a lighthouse factory takes years. So you should be willing to be invested in your idea for years and years and years if you want to get those outcomes. So to start off with, remember like 1, 2, 3, right? So you have one idea that you start with. Have 2 channels. When I'm saying channels, it could be a new customer that you're working with as a channel. It could be a partner channel that you have established. So multiple things, right? So you think of 2 channels to just start with, right? And try to see that you measure it with at least 3 KPIs, because you have limited resources that you can work with. So you can't really spread yourself too thin. So what you can do is to see that any channel that you're trying to pursue, any channel that you're trying to nurture, make sure that you're measuring the outcomes from that channel. Make sure that you're able to pivot after some time if your strategy is not working out. So that is a very, very important thing. Make sure that these are all distinct channels, right? So you try one channel which is through partnerships. You're trying another channel through people who are actually funding you. They're bringing you customers. All of that is okay. But the point is, try different channels, but limit to what you think you can do. Try and see that you measure all of this as you go forward. The last thing I want to also say is that we always keep hearing that change is the only constant, right? So we keep hearing the fact that, you need to be able to pivot, something doesn't work, you move on. So the other thing that I also want to say is that being detached is extremely important. And I don't mean it in the sense of being completely detached from the work that you're doing. The concept of detachment really is that you step away from the problem for some time, right? Don't be too attached to it and say, this is my baby, this is my startup. The fact is, the problem that you're trying to solve today, you're giving your blood, sweat, and tears to solve a problem today. That problem may not even exist tomorrow. So if you're going to be so attached to the problem that you're trying to solve today, you might actually miss the bigger picture, right? You might actually miss the forest for the trees. So be detached to the extent that you look at what is happening outside. Make sure that you know what is happening, so that if the time comes and you have to let go of something and pivot your idea, do that. Because a lot of startups, they start with one idea, but then what actually makes them successful is another idea that they actually got along the way, right? So make sure that you keep your eyes and ears open. If you didn't get one right, then there's obviously a lot more opportunities out there to get the next one right. So take the advantage of that. And I just want to say all the best to all of the startups here, and thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Anita, for sharing your invaluable insights and expertise with us today. Your guidance has been incredibly insightful and will no doubt help uh, many of us shape our business approaches. We truly appreciate the time and effort you have taken to be here with us. Let us all give Anita a big round of applause. Now, as we move forward, I'd like to announce that the Pitch Fest will be starting shortly on the first floor. Please note that it is only for industry delegates and the VCs to attend. And also, meanwhile, we'll have spotlight here in 5 minutes, where 5 of our startups will be pitching their ideas to the public. Thank you again and enjoy the event.
Hello everyone. Pitchfest will be starting soon on the first floor. VCs can go and attend the Pitchfest. Along with that, Startup Showcase will also be running here in 5-10 minutes. It will start. So you can students and alum mentors, they can wait here. Thank you.
Sure, sure. I'm just. Where any buzzer or something? Buzzer? It's a 10 minutes, 10 minutes. Not really. But Hello. Yeah.
Is it on?
You want to use this or like directly?
I will use it.
You're using it. இல்ல ஒரு இதிலே பண்ணிக்கிறேன்னு
Okay.
He'll introduce you and then you can just start.
Okay.
Hello everyone, may I have your attention? We're about to start a next segment, Startup Spotlight, where our startups will be presenting their idea to the public. First up, we have with us Green Adar.
So first of all, good afternoon to everyone. Myself Abhijit Bhakte, and I am presenting on behalf of Green Adar. Green Adar is about redefining waste management with our SaaS ecosystem for private and government sector to collect data, monitor operations, measure impact, and transition to net zero. So let's talk about some facts about the waste. So as we know that global yearly material consumption is 95.1 million tons, out of which 19.7 waste, out of which 19.7 billion tons end up as a waste. And from this waste, only around 80% of the global waste remains untracked. That we don't know whether this waste is going, whether this is recycled or not. Only 20% of the waste we are tracking. So why we are focusing on this problem right now? Because of increasing penalties by the governments, regulations, and the global initiative. Another main reason is the GHG emissions. So the better waste management can mitigate your waste, mitigate your GHG emission from 15 to 25%. So it's not about the zero waste, but it's about the net zero transition. So the problem of the current waste management is, so the global waste management market is around 1.35 trillion, and from this money, about 15 to 18% goes for the consultancy projects and 6 to 8% goes for the digitalization. But 30 to 50% of these projects are failing. And the main reason behind this is the data they have. Okay, so the different problems with the supply chains of the waste management are the different waste management or the waste have different supply chains, they have different stakeholders, and they have different regulation. And that's the main reason behind failing these projects, as well as the data. So how we can tackle this problem? These problems can be tackled with the help of traceability, life cycle assessment, accessibility, and the different regulations. So here at Green Adar, we can say that if you can't measure something, then you can't improve it. So our main goal is to first measure it, and then based upon that, how we can improve and how we can help to mitigate these waste management problems. So our solution is, we are providing 3 solutions. One is to collect the data from the ground level of the waste, how much waste is collected, whether it's segregated or not, all this information. Then monitor those waste, whether once that waste comes to your facility, whether how much waste is segregated, whether it is a plastic or all those things. And then later on, we have to manage those waste with the help of waste treatment plants and managing all those facilities. So after we have the data, we measure that data, and that data we are going to help to provide insights to our stakeholders. So here we are going to use the AI technology, and that will help them to find the leakages within their particular data ecosystem. And another thing, we can provide them the waste pattern insights. So throughout the year, there are different patterns you can see. In summer, there are more plastic consumption. Then in the Diwali season, there are more cardboard consumption. So all these insights we are going to provide them with the help of AI tool, as well as we are also providing them insights to how they can decarbonize their particular sector. Means let's consider we are also helping with the helping to the municipal corporation, so how they can decarbonize their whole ecosystem, whether they want a decentralized facility or they want a centralized facility, how much workforce they want, where they want to invest their things, as well as we are providing the reports. So these reports, all municipalities as well as the material recovery facilities required to comply with the different policies. So for that, we are helping them with the help of data to directly generate report, to not hire another consultancy which will charge them more. So it's about use our ecosystem to generate your own report, and we will also help them to decarbonize their things. So our solution is accessible as well as scalable. Accessible means when we work with the ground level on this, when we work with the ground level workers, so they are not that much well educated, so they want to use our app. So we made the features very easier, as well as these features are in the local languages, so that will help them, as well as this infrastructure is scalable, so it can be used by NGOs, it can be used by government agencies such as municipalities, as well as the material recovery facilities. This solution is affordable because if you use big such as ERP system like SAP and Oracle, so they have big capex. But we are moving to this capex model to the OPEX model. We are charging them based upon the premium, and we are providing them the infrastructure to manage their whole things. Another thing is the customization and integration. So we are integrating here kind of a LCA, lifecycle assessment, traceability, and as well as we are providing the different customization to our stakeholders. So our business model, we are working in the two business models. One is the B2B, where we are charging our customers such as recycler, NGO, private sector, based upon subscription, as well as our second business model is the B2G, which is based upon capacity to the government agency, that is municipalities and all. So we started this journey around 2 years ago. We built our infrastructure until last April, and from April we found some customers to deploy these solutions, and from April to August we generated a revenue around some 7.5 lakh INR. So this is the business things. So why Green Adar you have to choose? So first of all, it will help you to save your consultancy fee and the audit cost. Another thing is it will save you from the huge penalty if you not comply with the policies. Another thing is it is 7x more efficient to monitor all operations, as well as it will help you to hire less number of people because you are able to see everything is in a single screen. Then we are also providing the plug and play kind of solutions, as well as everything, traceability, and all reports you will get in a one click because we already have the data in a line. So these are the things, that's why you can choose the Green Adar. So this is the roadmap we have, and these are our current clients. And this is our team. This is founder, and this is me, and these are our recognitions. So till now we onboarded around 9 agencies and 4 urban local bodies. So at last, this is our vision. Our vision is to revolutionize global waste management by delivering data-driven decarbonization strategies, empowering every stakeholders with tools for efficient, traceable, and sustainable waste practices. Thank you. That's from my side.
Thank you so much. Next, we have with us offline.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sain Jaiswal, and I am building offline startup. So in this world, 4 billion people used to go to their local market, and they used to purchase over 1 trillion products from their local market, and they used to face up 3 major problems while purchasing this product. First problem is like discoverability of product or services in the local market. When customer doesn't know that in which shop they will get the required product, in this condition, every customer has to wander shop to ask the merchant that whether this product is available or not. This process consumes several hours, sometimes several days also. Second problem is like uncertainty. While going to the shops, every customer used to have some kind of uncertain question into their mind that what if this product will be out of stock? What will be the product price at the shop? Where I'll go next when the product will be out of stock? Third problem is like waiting at the shops whenever there used to be crowd at the shops. So like every customer has to wait for 10 to 20 minutes just for like telling the merchant that what product they want. So to solve this problem, I have built a mobile application that I'm going to demonstrate like how these 3 problems will get solved easily. So we have built 2 mobile applications. One app is for the customer and second app is for the local market merchant. So I am opening first customer app. That name is offline. How discoverability problem will get solved? That takes several hours, sometimes several days also. Like for example, currently we are starting with the food and drink categories. So like for example, if someone wants to eat any paneer item or any shakes or any juice or cake. So I'm searching one product like cake. So in real time, I'm seeing these 2 shops from the nearest to farthest distance, which has available this product in the real time. If I'm opening the shop, so I can see all the cake item first and then all the unsearched product later. And these are the real-time products prices that is available at the shop. So the searching problem that was taking earlier several hours, so now it is getting solved within a second after searching any product. For example, if I'm searching paneer, so these all are the shops that has paneer related item in the real time. So we are seeing all the shops from the nearest to farthest. So I can click on the shops, I can see all the paneer related item first and then all the unrelated item later. And these are the real time prices. Now how uncertainty problem will get solved? Like customer often used to have like a problem, customers often used to have some kind of uncertain question into their mind that like what if this product will be out of stock, where I'll go next. To solve this problem, like for example, I know the cream stone shop, I'm about to go after 10 minutes. So before going 10 minutes, I can see this see these shops and I can see the products. These are the products that is available at the real time shops. Now there is no any questions of like what if it will be out of stock. I can see all the products of the shops along with their real time prices before going to the shops. How like waiting problem will get solved through our app. So customer can make the pre-order. So now I'm making a pre-order.
Offline notification.
So merchant has received the orders. And now I'm opening like how it will be beneficial and easier for the merchant to manage their shops as well as accepting the orders, and how merchants will be updating their products. So this is the merchant app, and from here merchant can accept the orders in just one click. When the
offline notification.
So customers are getting notification, and when the customers are also getting time here, like for example, you can see on the screen that customer can see the 10 minutes has been left when the product will be getting ready. Now from the classroom or from anywhere, any can make the pre-order, and just 2 to 3 minutes before, here you can see like 10 minutes left. So over the time, this timer will, every minute will get decreased, and maybe 2 to 3 minutes before, customer will go to the shop and get their product immediately without any kind of like standing in the queue or crowd. So like these three problems are getting solved for the customers. Over the time, we have got so many feedback from the customer, like real-time queue or seat occupancy, that we will keep adding these features in the coming time. And for the merchants, how merchants will be doing out of stock and like updating their price of the product. For example, Nutella Brownie Blast. So in just one click, this product is getting out of stock. And in real time, customers are knowing this, okay, this product is out of stock and not available. So customer time will get saved through our app, because they are not going for the products which is out of stock in the real time. Every merchant can also see in the real time that how many customers are seeing their shops in the real time. Here in the eye icon, you can see on the top that one customers are seeing their shop. But currently, these are the things that currently our teammates are doing pilot tests on this. And we are going to live this mobile application within 2 weeks inside the ITM campus to serve first 25 shops and to first 10,000 customers and to serve first 1 lakh pre-orders. So, last month we have done rigorously pilot tests on the merchant. We collected so many feedbacks from the merchant and we improved our applications, and now our application is ready for the market. So we have also talked with the thousands of restaurants which are under the Restaurant Association of Tamil Nadu. Once after doing pilot tests inside the ITM campus and IIT Madras Research Park, then we will be start serving to the outside the campus. Also, whichever area we will be going, you will be finding all the shops. And currently, we are starting with the food and drink category. So Swiggy Zomato has only 1,500 approx shops, but Tamil Nadu has 14,000 shops. There are more shops that have not got any platform. For example, like in the Phoenix Mall, there are food court. Millions of customers are going there every week, but there is no any Swiggy Zomato there. Inside the campus, airport, railway station, big hospitals. So these kind of places, our application will be very beneficial for the customer in the purpose of saving their times and knowing the information of the shop in real time. So thank you so much. So if you have any questions, so please feel free to ask. So I have some minutes left, so I can show you more features of the app. So for example, if 200 customers are going at the shops, so but through through giving that shop a digital marketplace platform, now approx thousands of customers will be seeing their shops, and merchant can see every day in the view option that how many customers have seen their shops in one day. Here in just one click, merchant can close the shops. In just one click, merchants can open the shops. So currently, doing these kind of things manually, it takes several minutes, but digitally, within just few seconds, these kind of things is happening. If I'm going a particular shop very frequently, I can do favorite these shops. So you can see favorite number got increased, and customer will not have to search search this shop again and again. And currently you can see the product that I have made pre-order, so 5 minutes have left. Now I can go and collect the products, and now I'll not have to wait for 10 15 minutes extra. Now I'm going for only just enjoying my products. So thank you so much. Very soon, you all are going to be our potential users, and please feel free to give the feedback either through the mail or on the Play Store. We value your feedbacks, and we will definitely make features on that. Thank you so much.
Adar, do we need a pointer?
No, that's fine. So is it presenting?
Yeah, sure. You can control.
Thank you. Hello, can you hear me? Yeah, I think. Yeah. Hello everyone, this is Abhishek. I'm currently in my 5th year at IIT Madras, and I'm here to present you and tell more about what is Recontact. So while we were talking to a lot of banks, one thing that we have realized, they have 500 callers, 600 callers who are placing calls for making sales or even making calls for recovery of loan. But one problem that they were having was across these 500 callers placing call day in and day out, they weren't able to figure out which agent is abusing in some cases. Are agents following SOPs or not? And what's the quality of my call? Because 1 lakh calls being sent every day, it's not feasible for them to hire an auditor and audit those calls. So that's the major problem statement ki how can I process 1 lakh calls for all these banks so that they can keep a check on what is the quality of my calls. So let's proceed. So currently we'll just talk about debt collection for banks. So 80% of the debt collection calls are not audited by lenders, which usually results in case some agent abuses, RBI comes and knocks the door of this bank and say, please pay the fine, and they have other consequences as well. And public image and reputation of any NBFCs goes down in case any agent does any sort of abuse or not. And secondly, there are different promises that people make while giving back the loan. Let's say if I want to give back, someone calls me from the bank and asks me, ki, when are you going to pay back the loan? I'll just say, ki, I'll pay day after. Let's say in second scenario wherein someone calls me and asks me, when are you going to pay the loan? I know my loan is due. This loan is about 11,000 rupees. There's some family issue going on. I'll pay by Google Pay tomorrow at 11 a.m. Which one is more promising? The second customer, right? Currently, banks are not able to figure out who is more promising to pay back my loan against all. They are all looking at through one lens, that is promise to pay. We are here to help them figure out who is going to pay back their loan on one front so that they can strategically figure out their strategies for collection. On the second front, it's morely on the sides of is my quality good or not. So we can use AI to audit 100% of their call against 10% what they are doing right now. For auditing, even 2 to 3% of their call, they have to hire a 35,000 rupees employee with 10,000 rupees of office space and other things. That's huge cost. We can do it. We can do the same at 50% of the cost, and for all the recordings. So I'll give you a very interesting stat about lending in India. For every 100 rupees loan that a bank disperses, they usually easily get 97 rupees back. 3 rupees they have to put some effort to collect back. So out of this 3 rupees that is remaining,
what will happen is 0.3 rupees will be spent on recovery. This is wherein we come and reduce this cost by removing their entire auditing team and telling which calls to prioritize. And 1.8 rupees is what they finally get back from the customer. And by strategy, we improve this amount. So that's how we save money for any NBFC for that matter. And of course, earlier they used to have a lot of calling team, auditing team, and audit only 10%. Now they are able to audit 100% with a very short team. And this is a competitive sketch I don't want to emphasize more on. So here is our traction. These are the companies that we are working with right now. There's one paid pilot that's running, paid contract that's running with Nira Loans, one paid pilot running with Swackerman, others are in POC stage. So our product is live, used by all this company. We are processing 10,000 calls every day right now combined for all these clients. And we charge $1 per hour for call auditing. And yeah, that's our business model basically. And our TAM we project to be around $1.7 billion. And this is the team wherein Ankit, Jayant and Abhishek, that's me. We all of us met through IITM only, and that's how we started this company. Yeah, thank you.
HDMI can connect it here. Okay.
Hello. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Falgun Vyas here. I'm a recent graduate from IIT Madras, completed my BTech Chemical and Masters in Data Science. We are building a company called Sukun. In Sukun, our vision is to become a personal climate control technology global leader. What I mean by that is we are making cooling wearables, like cooling jackets and cooling helmets. Right now, we are doing it for the industrial workers, where heat stress is a common concern. And we have started from the Nirmaan pre-incubation cell here at the Innovation Lab of Madras, IIT Madras. So the problem statement that we are tackling is the effects of heat waves across the country. This has led to impact on the industrial output, and the increase in the length, number and intensity of heat waves has caused a severe impact on the health of the workers as well. So this is the main problem statement that we have started with. Now on ground, this problem statement translates into these three factors. The worker gets fatigued over time. He has to wear a mandate suit even if he is sweating, and he is like sweating profusely, which kind of leads to health risks as well. So these three were the important problem statements that we found on ground. So the solutions for these was making personalized cooling wearables. Now this involves making helmets, jackets, arm sleeve attachments, pants, shoes. So there are a lot of things that come under the personalized cooling wearable domain, where we have started with jackets as the primary product, and the helmet is the product that is going to come ahead. On the jacket front, we have these three jackets, where the blue phase one is the one which we are ready with, and we have conducted the pilot as. It uses a PCM, hybrid PCM based mechanism, and then there is a fan based mechanism which is the blue convec, and the blue pulse is a jacket with sensors which can kind of understand you as a person, what is the comfort you want, and then kind of that leads to deploying the cooling system accordingly. So we have this was the mechanism of the phase change modules, where we have a protection layer from the external environment and a passive adjustment layer which can regulate the cooling to the body and kind of absorb the sweat and move it to the protection layer side. So I'll not go a bit deep into this. So we have done our pilots at the Chennai Petroleum, which is the subsidiary of Indian Oil, and we have also done our trials at JSW, Kalyani Steel and some other companies as well. Right now we are on the lookout for more manufacturing companies where heat stress is an issue, and we can introduce our products to them. So we are kind of on a spree to find out more customers where this will be required. Our main value proposition kind of goes where it is an initiative from the company side, where taking an initiative for their workers shows a strong like a workplace safety environment for the worker as well. It reduces the health risk, which kind of leads to lower absenteeism in the workers, and improved comfort leads to retention of a trained worker for the plant as well. And the productivity also increases due to the reduction of the physiological heat strain on the body. So we got a pre-seed fund of 7 lakhs from Nirmaan, whose event it is today. We also received the best student innovation project for the idea of the cooling wearable, and we got featured in some articles and won some competitions as well. And we received a CSR grant of 5.5 lakh rupees to continue the project as well. We are a team of 4 people, where I am Falgun and Priyanka is from NIFT Gandhinagar, where she handles the smart garment front, the textile head. Then we have Bhavna, who's kind of our thermal lead and handles the product as well. And then we have Aditya, who helps us on the finance and the marketing side of the company. Yeah, so that's it about Sukun. You can contact us here to know more about us. We have a stall outside near the registration desk if you want to discuss about this more. Thank you.